cringy content, cringy people, bullying. All of these things are a huge staple of the commentary community, and more specifically, cringe culture. It's been a common trend for over a decade to make fun of people and communities who don't fit within our collective vision of what is normal. And even though the current socio-political climate is drenched in tolerance and a don't judge others mentality, we can still have our fun mocking furries, anime fans, fat people, cringy kids, and other weird specimens on the internet. And this brings me to a video that I was recommended some time ago called Cringe Culture is Exceedingly Lame by a guy called kamsholiday. And I thought, you know what, let's react to it because I do have some opinions on why we should have cringe culture and why it should be perfectly acceptable to make fun of weird people. So without any further ado, let's get right into it.
I used to be what many people call a D1 hater. If I saw a popular piece of media that a lot of people liked but I thought was cringe, young kamsholiday would go out of his way to hate on them without hesitation, because in my stupid ass 15-year-old mind, I thought that shit was cool to do.
Okay, that is interesting. So he used to be a big cringe culture warrior and then he switched up. Now, that is something that I could have respect for if the reasons for that are valid and not retarded. So let's find out why he did it.
And so that all came to a head when recently a friend of mine convinced me to hop in a Discord call with them and a few other homies to watch a certain show. A show that I took great pleasure in dunking on every chance I got without having any prior experience with it. And that show was Has Been Hotel. For all intents and purposes, it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. It wasn't too bad. You know what I mean? I had an epiphany after we got done watching. And it was that for all intents and purposes, the people who enjoy this show are just regular chill people who are passionate about a thing they like. They have their quirks like most people do, but overall they weren't the weirdos that I originally painted them to be for just enjoying their interests. And then it hit me. Damn. I'm a fucking lame-o, bro. And that was the moment I realized that cringe culture is possibly the single most idiotic and lame-ass thing to ever come from internet culture as a whole.
Now, he brings up the point that he himself enjoyed the show and realized that antagonizing fans is bad, which I could have some sympathy with, but it doesn't explain why cringe culture is bad. From my perspective at least, it is perfectly acceptable to make fun of a piece of media and the community surrounding it, because as with everything, they are worthy of criticism. I mean, anime has been a constant subject of ridicule for the last 20 years or so, even from people who watch anime. So the idea that you can't criticize, for example, My Hero Academia fans for being delusional lobotomites with a disregard for hygiene is just plain stupid.
The act of going out of your way to bully a group of individuals for simply having an interest and enjoying something that they like is by and large one of the most childish things you can do as an individual, no matter how corny or cringeworthy said interest may be to you. This widespread behavior and phenomenon has been dubbed as cringe culture by the wider internet, and as I've explained so far, it essentially entails singling out communities and pointing and laughing at them for being weird or quirky. So it's basically bullying with a few extra steps.
So instead of getting into detail on why cringe culture is lame, we get a hollow emotional appeal. Why are you criticizing Valorant e-daters for being cringe? Why don't you just leave them alone, you bully? You disgusting bully! Well, number one, if you don't want to be made fun of on the internet, don't post stuff you will regret posting later. And number two, this laissez-faire attitude towards bad behavior is exactly why there are so many delusional groups on the internet. There's simply not enough pushback against their insanity. One example I could bring up is Dream Stans, a community so toxic it makes Hassan Piker fans look tame. These guys have done stuff like doxing Dream, which led us to this infamous picture of him when he was fat, creating an entire sexuality based around him called Dream Sexual, drawing gore porn of not just Dream, but also of Tommy Innit when he was underage and Dream's sister when she was underage, as well as countless cancellations of Dream for things he said or did that they thought was remotely problematic. This isn't weird or quirky behavior, it's borderline psychotic, and you get these people put in a psych ward for 10 years at least. You also have to remember that cringe culture didn't just appear out of nowhere. The reason it popped up is because there is a market for content that criticizes the weird and the cringe. People on the internet see that someone is behaving like a weirdo, and that YouTubers make videos calling that person a weirdo. It's called supply and demand.
The scariest thing about cringe culture to me is a shocking amount of people tend to view it as cool or based. God, God, I fucking hate that word. To partake in the harassment of individuals who like things that they deem as weird or stupid.
I'm sorry, mate, but did you seriously just say harassment? I don't think making videos about someone who puts themselves out on the internet constitutes as harassment. If you don't want to be criticized, either don't put yourself on the internet at all, or change your behavior. It's not that difficult of an idea to understand. Is me making videos mocking zoophiles harassment? I'm simply reacting to them proudly displaying their degeneracy. I'm not calling for them to be swatted. Although, to be fair, it would be much better if they were in a prison cell and chemically castrated.
Everyone is passionate about something to some extent. But just because you wake up one day and decide that something is weird and people should be made fun of for liking it, doesn't mean that it's weird and people should be made fun of for liking it. Like, what are we talking about right now?
I'm not gonna lie, bro. That is a very poorly worded statement. By saying that, you're essentially implying that even if someone is engaging in depraved behavior, they can't be criticized for it because, according to you, weirdness is subjective. So, for example, if a person is supporting the existence of lolicon drawings where kids are depicted being raped, or even worse, actually drawing those pictures, in your ideal world, those people cannot be criticized because, according to you, no one should ever have the right to call out weirdness. Like, do you realize the kind of shit you're opening doors to? And bro, just the way he says that shit, well, just because you think these people are weird, it doesn't mean they're actually weird, and you shouldn't be saying that. I can make fun of the things that I think are weird or cringe. Who the fuck are you to censor me? The morality police? He does actually sound like a terminally online tard leftist, so I wouldn't be surprised if he secretly wants to turn America into a lefty version of Iran, where instead of getting beaten for not wearing a hijab, you get beaten for making fun of a furry or something.
It is just unprompted, unwarranted, childish as hell behavior.
Well, that's not entirely accurate, because people put themselves on the internet for everyone to see what they're doing. So the mockery is less unprompted than what you make it seem. If I criticize people from the fat acceptance movement for posting videos glorifying obesity, that's not me being childish or insecure. That's me expressing my disagreement and disgust with what they're doing, because obviously promoting obesity is very harmful. Again, if you don't want to be made fun of, don't post something that will prompt such a reaction.
I feel I should also say, I'm not saying that certain communities shouldn't be criticized. I think quite the opposite, actually. If I had $1 for every time I caught a Zenless Zone Zero fan being a freakazoid or a Dead by Daylight player crashing out whenever someone looks at them the wrong way, I wouldn't be making this video on an iPhone right now. But calling out a community for poor behavior and just bullying them unprompted are two entirely different things on two entirely different sides of the spectrum.
Okay, I gotta say, that is a W take right there. He is admitting that some people are deserving of criticism, so therefore this video has less bias than I expected. But again, he's failing to realize that the only reason why cringe culture exists is because people post weird shit on the internet and leave themselves open to mockery. So again, it's not as unprompted as he's making it seem. To give you an example, I've been seeing videos on Reels of a VR chat user interacting with furries and other types of deviants and retards, and people are leaving comments making fun of these people and expressing their horror that someone would behave like this. It's not these commenters pointing and laughing that initiated this, it's the VR chat users who are so terminally online and autistic that they cannot hold a conversation properly and therefore just end up having a mental breakdown and embarrass themselves. Do you think if these people were mentally stable and just behaved normally, they would be getting made fun of? No, of course they wouldn't.
I also think one of the biggest factors in this whole cringe culture thing is people's supposed notion that everything should be tailored for them and everything should be made to resonate with them, even if this sentiment is never said out loud. Now, what I'm about to say doesn't just apply to media, but it applies to most things in life. You as an individual aren't going to like everything, and not everything in life is created with the purpose of resonating with you. And that is perfectly okay, but that doesn't give you the right to go around being a negative ass Nancy about everything you don't enjoy, and that especially doesn't give you the right to make a pariah and a joke out of the people who enjoy said things.
Oh, so I'm in the wrong for expressing my own opinion? What kind of twisted morality is this? There is nothing wrong with making fun of a movie or a game that you don't find appealing. That's what criticism is. I get that criticizing something that is not tailored to your interests can be a bit childish, but the way he says it in such a broad manner makes it seem like if you criticize any form of media, well then you're just too stupid to recognize its brilliance. For example, the game Dustborn has been lambasted as both a shit game and an awful propaganda of identity politics, and the developers responded by saying their critics perpetuated a tidal wave of hate and abuse. It's just a terrible way of deflecting criticism by painting your opponent in the most negative light possible. I want to talk about it because I saw it on the internet and I thought it was cringe and it deserved to be made fun of, and there is nothing you can do to stop me.
There have been a few instances that I have witnessed in recent times where certain content creators will get relentlessly and unjustly bullied and ran off the internet simply because they said something small or just simply enjoyed creating their content. The two worst examples of this that I've seen are two content creators by the name of Joe Cat and Jellybean. One made a dumb little song about how much he likes girls, in which case he just like me for real, bro. And the other was simply making the content that they enjoyed making. Both of which were bullied off the internet simply because people labeled them as cringe.
Okay, so I'm gonna be a bit nuanced here. So for the first case, I think that obviously harassment is bad, but at the same time, he made a pretty cringe video, so I think it was perfectly okay to make fun of him for it. And regarding Jellybean, I'm once again fine with criticizing her cringy videos, which is something that I did myself. But that being said, I'm not okay with the other things that she experienced, such as her being doxxed and people creating Rule 34 art of her while she was still a minor. There's nothing morally wrong with making fun of a person or their content, but there is definitely something morally wrong with harassing that person, sending them death threats, and doing other degenerate shit.
I also think that these same people are so extremely used to being comfortable that the mere sight or mention of something that even has the remote possibility to threaten that comfort, or in this case make them cringe, is immediately met with hostility and bitterness. Hating and bullying has almost become somewhat of a coping mechanism for some people, causing them to search for reasons to be mad at people in media just so they can feel secure about their own comfortability.
So now the argument is that we're all deeply insecure and make fun of other people as a form of projection. Like, what level of brain damage are we at right now? So me making a video making fun of a fat acceptance TikToker is just me trying to cover up my insecurities of eating a chocolate bar in between meals? Like, how does this make even any sense?
I was in a PlayStation party with some kids from school, and I ended up telling the other guys how much I loved Adventure Time, my favorite show of all time. And when I tell you I got cooked, nigga, I mean deep fried, pan-seared even, possibly even butter basted. I got chewed the fuck up, bro. And that kind of incident happened a few times after that, and then it got to a point to where I just don't tell many people about my passions and my interests anymore, save for close friends and a few family members.
Now I see. You got bullied once and had your feelings hurt so deeply that you just had to make this pussy-ass video talking about why everyone who makes fun of weird people online is a fucking fascist. You literally make fun of cringe culture warriors for being babies, while at the same time being unable to handle even the slightest bit of mockery. Who cares that these people are laughing at your interests? They're not trying to stop you from watching Adventure Time, so the fact that you even made this video crying about how these people are ruining society just shows that you are a massive pussy. Like, grow the fuck up, seriously. But anyway guys, that is the end of this very epic rant commentary video. Thank you all so much for watching and for all of your support. Remember to subscribe, like, comment, turn notifications on. Please comment because it really helps me out in the algorithm. Also, join my Discord server and follow me on the cesspit known as Twitter. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.
Yeah. She back to the bone. Wait, these niggas watching. I swear to God, they be my clothes.